Wasn't it exciting to see how the scenes from the first Croods movie was created? From those initial sketches, to the wireframe animations, to the final cuts, a lot goes into those animated movies before you see them on the big screen. In fact, I went to college to become one of those 3D animators. Pretty cool, huh? Fortunately for you, it didn't work out though, because I wouldn't be here today. But this week, we're not going to be learning about animation. We're going to be learning about art far older than that. The first art, in fact. In this lesson, we're going to take a journey back in time to explore the fascinating world of cave paintings, just like the dad from Croods was creating.
This story takes place in 1940. To give it more context, it was right at the start of the war. Sunday, the 8th of September 1940, starts with a boy called Marcel Rabidat, nicknamed the Convict, who with his friends discovered the entrance to the Lascaux Caves. On this day, he had gone after his dog, who had chased a fox or a rabbit, when he kicked a stone with his foot, and it tumbled down into this little hole and made an echo that brought everyone running. And so the little group gathered around the hole and immediately thought back to the legend that had been told for generations, a story of an underground passage that was said to exist between the Montignac Castle and a manor house just at the foot of the hill, known as the Lascaux Manor. Anyway, they were not able to explore it that day because they didn't have a torch. They left saying, "We'll see later, but we need to go back and explore this famous underground passage." 4 days later, Marcel Rabidat fashioned himself a torch and a knife, but none of his friends wanted to come along. On the way, he met 3 other boys from the village, Jacques Marçal, Georges Agnel, and Simon Quancas. So he convinced them to come with him, and so it was these 4 who simply unblocked the entrance. It took them a good hour to do it, because they couldn't get through at all. By clearing the entrance, it was Rabidat who succeeded in making his way in head first. And all 4 began exploring the first hall little by little. Then they began making discovery after discovery on the walls. A bull here, a horse there, a line of deer, and so on.
Since that first discovery in France, we found cave paintings all over the place. Europe, Asia, South America, even here in North America, not far away from where we live today. Pretty cool, huh? Want to learn more? Check out this video.
Hello, beautiful artists. Today, we are going to learn about the first art pieces ever produced. Yes, you heard well, the first ever paintings in the world. Prehistoric art are paintings, sculptures, and structures made during the prehistoric era. It is the first ever produced art in our world. In this video, we will focus on prehistoric painting, even though there are also sculptures and structures made at this time. When we refer to prehistoric paintings, we also mean cave paintings, because the art prehistoric people made was actually in the cave walls and ceilings. These paintings were made more than 30,000 years ago. In them, we can see animal and hunting scenes, as well as hands and some strange creatures. Today, there are about 350 caves with prehistoric art on them, that we know of at least. Some of those caves are in France and in Spain. I guess you're wondering, how did they do it? How did they paint on the caves if they didn't have brushes or a fancy tempera set with them? Well, prehistoric painters used the pigments available around them. These pigments were the so-called earth pigments that came from minerals, charcoal from the fire, burnt bones, and white from grounded calcite. Large areas were covered with fingertips. Twigs produced lines, while feathers blended areas of color. They also used brushes that were made from animal hair. They also use the rugosity and texture of the cave to make a three-dimensional vision of the animals they portrayed. Till this day, we are not 100% sure why prehistoric people painted on caves. There are many theories. Perhaps cavemen wanted to decorate the cave and choose animals because they were important to their existence. The second theory would have been that they considered these paintings as a magic ritual to help the hunters. Perhaps if the artist could capture the image of an animal, they could capture the animal in a hunt. Another theory is that prehistoric man would have used the painting of animals to document their hunting expeditions.
Why do you think our ancestors created these paintings? Scientists still aren't sure, but maybe one day you'll discover their secret. And guess what? These clever artists didn't just paint animals on the walls. They drew pictures of people and special symbols, kind of like secret codes in adventure stories. There's some people that study really old things like detectives of the past. They're called archaeologists, like Indiana Jones. Some of these archaeologists think that these symbols may even be the first form of writing, kind of like the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Isn't that cool? Now that you've learned all about prehistoric artists and cave paintings, it's time to create your own in this week's Studio Time assignment. Check it out. Here's mine. It's called Roll a Cave Painting. It's super easy and was one of my favorites from the students last year. All you need is a brown piece of paper, roll of a dice, and some oil pastels. And you can create your own cool piece of artwork, just like our ancestors did. I can't wait to see what you guys create. It's going to be so awesome. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.